Hey guys, I'm doing this extra video because Luggy has kindly brought to our attention a recent legal case. Rzucek versus Vinnicombe, 2025. Case number KB 2022-004547. This case isn't just about false claims. It's about harassment, and the court recognized the serious harm caused by Alan Vinnicombe, aka Armchair Detective. For years, Vinnicombe spread conspiracy theories about the Watts case, falsely accusing Shanann Watts of harming her own children and suggesting the Rzucek family was involved in covering up the truth. But it didn't stop there. He actively encouraged his followers to contact and harass people, including the Rzucek family and others connected to the case. This led to relentless online abuse, distress, and misinformation being spread far and wide. Despite being directly asked to stop, he dismissed the family's pleas, claiming their messages were fake. He continued profiting from this content, all while weaponizing his audience to go after grieving individuals. The court's ruling holds him accountable for the damage he caused, and it's an important moment in the fight against online harassment. Before I get into that, let's talk about the actual judgment. Before we dive into the details of Vinnicombe's actions, let's discuss how the judgment itself was awarded. While the case was strong on its own merits, the final ruling was predominantly due to the defendant's failure to secure sufficient legal representation and his inability to file a compliant defense. This meant that, procedurally, the judge had no choice but to award in favor of the plaintiff, the Rzucek family. The court actually gave Vinnicombe multiple opportunities to present a valid legal defense, 4 chances to be exact, but he failed every single time. Instead of defending himself within the legal system, he used his platform to mock the legal process, attack those involved, and continue his harassment campaign. In the end, his failure to follow basic legal procedures resulted in the court ruling in the Rzucek's favor by default. Yair Cohen's statement on the case. To put this into perspective, we're going to start by looking at a statement from Yair Cohen, the lawyer who represented the Rzucek family. Taking down a conspiracy theorist. How we won the first UK case to shut down a harassing YouTube channel. For too long, social media has given free rein to individuals who exploit grief, tragedy, and real-life suffering for financial and personal gain. Conspiracy theorists, in particular, have built entire platforms around spreading misinformation, twisting the truth, and inciting harassment, all while being rewarded with views, ad revenue, and an ever-growing audience. On 26 February 2025, we changed that. The High Court ruled in our favor in the case of Rzucek v. Vinnicombe, marking the first time in UK history that a conspiracy theorist has been forced to shut down a YouTube channel due to harassment and defamation. This wasn't just about winning a lawsuit. It was about proving that victims of online harassment have legal recourse, that social media abuse has consequences, and that people cannot use platforms like YouTube to terrorize innocent families. Cohen goes on to explain how Vinnicombe weaponized his platform, directing targeted harassment campaigns against the Rzucek family and their legal team. Not only did he spread provably false claims, but he encouraged his followers to contact the family, flood their social media, and even make abusive phone calls. The court's decision was a landmark victory against online harassment, forcing YouTube to shut down his channel and setting a precedent for future cases. Responsible sleuthing versus harassment. We'll also discuss the key differences between what Vinnicombe did and what most of the online sleuths and true crime community actually do. Responsible sleuthing is about analyzing facts, cross-referencing evidence, and discussing cases without targeting victims' families or spreading harmful misinformation. What Vinnicombe did was far beyond speculation. He incited harassment and actively pushed damaging falsehoods. That's not research. That's not discussion. That's deliberate harm. Responsible sleuthing versus harassment. Understanding the difference. Now, before anyone tries to claim that this is about shutting down all online sleuthing, let's be very clear. This is not about saying that discussing true crime is inherently bad. Speculation is a natural part of analyzing cases, and yes, that includes discussing people who might be involved. But there is a massive difference between speculation and making direct accusations. Responsible sleuthing means asking questions, exploring theories, and debating possibilities without crossing the line into outright claims of guilt. Looking at official documents, credible sources, and real evidence is part of the process. There's nothing wrong with wondering if someone's behavior is suspicious or discussing different angles of a case, but without solid proof, it remains just that, a theory, not a fact. Ethical speculation means acknowledging that uncertainty, not presenting guesses as conclusions. It also requires respecting the real people involved. Victims and their families are not characters in a mystery novel. They're human beings, and their trauma shouldn't be exploited for entertainment or engagement. Recognizing boundaries is key, knowing when to step back, listening when families ask for privacy, and never inserting oneself into their personal lives. Harassment, however, is something entirely different. Vinnicombe didn't just speculate, he made outright, provably false accusations, claiming Shanann Watts harmed her own children, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. That's not theory building, that's defamation. He took it even further by encouraging his followers to harass the Rzucek family, turning online discussion into real-world abuse. Worse, he profited off these lies, monetizing misinformation and exploiting a real-life tragedy for money and attention. When the family directly asked him to stop, he didn't listen. He mocked them, blocked them, and kept going. Instead of using social media to explore the truth, he used it as a weapon to spread lies and attack innocent people. I think it's important to note in the Jay Slater case that none of the family, whom I define as Debbie, Zach, and Warren only, have reached out to any content creators and asked them to stop. This stands in contrast to the Vinnicombe case, where the Rzucek family directly pleaded with him to stop spreading misinformation, only to be ignored and ridiculed. This distinction matters. This is not about shutting down true crime discussions. It's about making sure that speculation stays just that, speculation, without turning into dangerous accusations or harassment. The court recognized this distinction, which is why it ruled against Vinnicombe. This case sets an important precedent. Online harassment has consequences, and social media platforms can no longer be used as a tool to target grieving families. What do we conclude from this? This case is a big moment for online accountability. Rzucek versus Vinnicombe 2025 shows that social media isn't a free-for-all, and courts are starting to take harassment and misinformation seriously. It's a reminder that there's a big difference between responsible discussion and content that crosses the line into targeted abuse. This isn't about shutting down true crime conversations. It's about protecting real people from harm. If someone's using their platform to encourage harassment or spread false accusations, they need to be aware that there can be consequences. And looking ahead, it'll be interesting to see how this applies to other cases, like the Jay Slater case. If any civil cases come from that, key people involved, such as friends or others like Chris and Luggy, could be asked to give evidence. Given how much speculation has surrounded the case, I'd imagine that's something they'd want to approach carefully. Ultimately, this case proves that words and actions online matter, and being mindful of what you say and do is more important than ever. That said, this isn't a reason to stop asking questions. Questioning events, looking at evidence, and discussing cases responsibly is a key part of the true crime community. It's about doing it the right way, without turning it into targeted harassment or misinformation. I'll hopefully be doing my original part 2 to this series later today or tomorrow, and as always, I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments below.